This is Ruthie with the Pople Backyard Farm, and I'm doing Transformation Thursday here on Tuesday. And that's mainly because I have a lot of work to do this week. My mother's coming over this week, and I'm super excited about it. So, with that, I'm doing my Transformation Thursday early. Okay, guys, I'm going to start out retelling a story. I went to a church one time, and I thought it was really interesting. Um, the pastor stood up and said, he stood up from the pulpit. He goes, if you have ever had, like, he goes, if you've ever been saved from a car accident, stand up. Like, it was like everything was like really far out. It's like if you've ever had a miracle where you didn't die, like you were supposed to die right then and you didn't. And somebody, he said, everybody stand, this person, if they happen to you, stand up. And then he said, if this happens, stand up. If this happens, stand up. And it was like all these things that are kind of like far out, like miracles and things like that. And after he was done with his list, almost the entire church was standing up. I think it was the entire church, but it was stuff like if you had a disease and they said you were going to die and you didn't, if you were going to, you're in a life-threatening situation. Like I know one girlfriend of mine told me one time that when she was a kid, she was running towards the cliff and all of a sudden she stopped. And if she didn't stop right then, it was like a big drop off and she would have been killed. So that's where I felt like I wanted to start this. With that, I have a story for you that happened to me personally. And I'll give you a little background. And I really felt led to share this with you guys, so you don't think I'm weird or strange, but people have things happen to them in life. Now, I accepted Jesus as my personal Savior when I was 5 years old. And I've had some different things happen in my life, some really bad things that should not have happened to somebody. The first big bad thing that I would say was major to me was when I was 19 years old. I got married. I was married for less than a year. I was actually, I was like a really good little girl, I was a nice little church girl. And that guy beat the snot out of me. I ended up getting pregnant. I lost the baby, and the marriage was over in like less than a year. I had ended up moving to Chicago. My mom and dad told me that I could come home, but I had to get a divorce. So I ended up moving home. I actually ended up in Arkansas through all that mess and ended up moving home. And my parents, I ended up getting a divorce. Okay, that was one. And I'll go to the next thing. So I was terrified of, having that happen to me again, of course, So I ended up coming back home. I ended up getting hired by my church. And like I worked in the regular world, but the like I had a job at Weight Watchers actually back then. And then my church asked me if I would want to work for them and be the secretary of the church. Well, my dad and I talked about it, and because I was going to cut like my paycheck in half, and my dad and I was living home, so I decided to leave my secular job and work at the church for a few years. Well, during that time, I married my second husband, number two. And we were married for 6 months, and he started to cheat on me. And we did have a son together, and who's a really good boy, and he's actually getting married this year. And he had all kinds of problems, okay? And he was physically and mentally abusive, and it was bad. Okay, well, during that time, okay, I ended up getting a divorce from him. He ended up having some repercussions from his actions with his second wife, and meaning that well, I'll just say he went to jail for a while. Okay, so as well just say, it didn't happen while I was married to him. But anyway, here's what happened though when I was married to him. While I was married to him, I was in church one time, and I think you guys are gonna like this. I was in church and I was praying, and all of a sudden I wasn't in church anymore. This was like one of those. And looking in the Bible talks about people that have different things happen. And this is what I saw. I saw myself in mud up to my knees. And it was like, oh, this is so hard. Then all of a sudden, Jesus took me up, and I was walking with Jesus on cobblestone, and it was lighted, and the path was lighted. Well, it troubled me. Like, what was that? And right afterwards, the pastor called me over and he said, Ruthie, come over here. I want to pray for you. And he prayed for me. And I couldn't figure out what that was all about. So I thought that was really, it would be like if you were here, then you were gone. So it was really strange. And I call it now an open vision. But anyway, what happened was I was troubled about it. And I was teaching the ladies' Bible study with another lady at our church. And I kept thinking, well, the Bible says the wise man builds his house upon a rock. I was trying to think what that was all about. And anyway, I told the other co-teacher with me in the Bible study about what had happened. And she said, he brought me out of the miry clay and set my feet on a rock. And in Psalm 40, there's a thing that says, he brought me out of the pit, and I was in a pit, and he set me on the rock. And then if you continue to read it, it says he establishes my way, and many people will see it and trust the Lord. So actually what kind of went on happening as the story unfolds, it was kind of like a snapshot of what was going on in my life. It's like I had a bunch of bad things happen. I was in a pit, and I couldn't get myself out. God pulled me out. And then the end result was that I was walking with the Lord, and that, God was taking care of me. Now, I was saved the entire time. I loved the Lord with all our heart. I mean, I was working for our church, but I had made some, bad decisions. My first husband, everybody was like, yeah, marry him. He's a great guy. My parents loved him. The second guy, the same thing. Everyone, oh, he's so nice. He's good. But I mean, I had all kinds of problems with both of these guys. And I don't know, it's kind of like the Joseph story. If you read Joseph in the Bible, he had all kinds of problems, but if you continue to read that, you'll see at 30 years old, he stood before Pharaoh. So all of his problems were kind of over. But for some reason, and it's cool with God and I, so you don't have to be like mad at God for any of this, but God allowed me, or let it happen, that I was married to someone that punched me, threw me down the stairs. I was married to another guy that wouldn't stop cheating on me every time I turned around. He had all kinds of, he was basically a sex addict, and plus he had, he never did anything weird like that with me, but he had some really strange ideas, and actually that's kind of why he went to jail, because he molested some little girl. But what happened was, for me though, on the other side, for me, I ended up getting out of the pit, meeting my now husband. God's redone my life. He's transforming me. And I mean, I used to feel like so many crazy things have happened to me in life. I used to think, I can't believe this. This is downright, like, it's so crazy. It's just unbelievable. But now I feel like, will you love me in the city? Will you love me in the country? Will you love me when you're rich? Will you love me when you're poor? I kind of feel like God is, and I have that kind of relationship. But I do love the Lord with all my heart. And even though things have happened, I just want to share that story with you because, God has an answer for everything. And if you read the Bible, it says, mark the man that lives close to the Lord, the end of that man is peace. And it is such a treat for me to live out here in the country with my husband. It's such a treat for me to take up farming. I like social media and sales and PR, and God has laid a beautiful business right in my lap that, I work on that all day long. He's given me a husband that truly loves me. I can't believe my husband loves me, and he is a good man. And I love him. I love my husband. And I try to do everything that I can to be a good wife to him, and he tries to do everything he can to be a good husband to me. And a lot of men wouldn't be willing to do YouTubes because we do Pople Backyardfarm. In fact, one time I prayed about it, and I said, I don't really know. Do I have a place on the little farm videos? He's the farmer. I'm the one that married him, And I felt like God said, yes, you have a very vital part. And so I feel like what I contribute is just as important as what my husband contributes. But I wanted to share that story and how, it may not hit you now, may not hit you, for a while, but maybe when you're going through something, the Lord might remind you. And I have to say that my life, it's like, there's something about going through something really hard and then having it good. Like I kept waiting for the shoe to fall with Clay, like when's he going to turn into this monster? And it never happened. And I don't believe it ever will happen. And I heard the history of what's gone on with Clay, and he'll probably share. He had the short end of his deal. And I met Clay after I filed for divorce, and Clay had left his wife like 10 years prior. And my husband had a girlfriend at the time, you know what I mean? And that's like I said, I remember how, you know, we got together, and it was like Clay rescued me kind of, because I was trying to, you know, move on with my life. And then I was kind of I was very scared, because I was, you know, I was married for 22 years, and it was like starting over. But, you know, God worked it out that I had just gotten unemployed at Lazy Boy, because they were making a change and changing owners. So they were like laying off everybody, and they let me go kind of early. The Lord actually spoke to me and said, tell your owner you want to leave. And he wouldn't let me leave. And then the next, he goes, we make allowances for that. I said, I don't feel like I'm making my numbers. He said, we make allowances for that. I said, well, I'm going through divorce. Um, he said, we make allowances for that stay. And the next week they laid me off. So that was God, that, because then I got my unemployment and all that. And then my husband, his company was on strike. We were both, I mean, I was working like 6, 7 days a week, and so was Clay, getting up at 3 in the morning. Otherwise, we never would have met. And so that was, you know, another miracle. But there's so many things. But, you know, I wanted to share that story with you, how God is transforming me. So that was the major step. Now, Clay and I have been married for 4 years, and he's still transforming me. And I'll be walking with Jesus until I fly up yonder, if you believe in the rapture like I do. So, and if not, he'll keep me till the end. But I personally believe in the rapture, you know. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was moving. I've heard so many people on Transformation Thursday just bare their heart and share such personal stories that has really moved me. And I just have to thank you guys for doing that. I love the stories, and every time I hear your stories, I just want to hug it. I feel like, oh my goodness, you're like I could just see us being friends, you know. So I love the stories, and must be my day to share a story. So, okay, like, subscribe, and feel free to share this video with a friend. Take care.